Okay, let's kind of dig into the pamphlet as it kind of outlines the major things you want to be thinking about. Now, before I jump into this, just a quick word on solid modeling. Today's the last day I'm going to really expect time during class for you to work on those. When you do print those, if you would, take the sheet that had the grading criteria on it and just put it in the flat files with your photo. Okay? And then I'll go through it and probably sit down with you also. We might have to go to the computer to do a little bit of grading on those, because we do need to critique them. So I'll put both those forms in there. When you get to the print process, if you're unsure what's going on there, just get with me. I'm planning on us kind of jumping onto it, but we've already had a couple students go through it also that can help with that process, like Majed and Jess have already printed. How to run the printer, get the other roll loaded, that kind of stuff that's going on there. In essence, on your projects, I hope you're pretty close to being done solid-wise. If you're going to put together a good render and the type of scenes we're looking for, you need to budget 3-4 hours for that. It takes a little bit of time. Because you're applying materials, you're applying lights, then you start the render process and you're tweaking back and forth quite a lot until you get the end view you want. Don't expect that the first time you render an object, it's going to be what you want. Remember, your outcome here, or your goal of this, is that you're creating a view that's going to go in a catalog or on the internet to market the project. Market the product, I guess, might be a better word to say. Okay, so how much we sell on this, many times in today's world, right? Everybody kind of just takes one look and they grab the one that looks the best. That's a huge aspect of a company's ability to survive. And that's really what you're trying to do here. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, let's jump into this and make sure we review the pertinent parts of it. And I'll give a little bit more information. So I'm going to go through the intro here. So what are we going to do here in architectural drafting? We're going to expose you to typical procedures employed in an architectural office. Really, that is our goal here. Not that you're out designing homes when you walk out of here, but that you have the base skills to go work in an architectural office. Again, it goes back to our whole criteria that we've talked about and the advisory committee that goes to this class saying, hey, these are the base skills we need these people to have for us to employ them and them to be productive when they hit the job. And that's what we're going to base it on. Now, typically, we've mentioned this already, architects are doing commercial structures. We're not doing a commercial structure here, which most architects are doing. But what you're going to be doing is learning the language. You're going to be learning how things go together, joints and different material types like concrete. How do we join it to wood? It doesn't change from commercial or residential. The terminology stays the same. We use headers in commercial, we use them in residential. Typically what does change is the materials. And we'll get you exposed to that a little bit. We have another class in the summer called structural drafting that goes along with this. On that one, we will do a commercial product. And we're going to look at some of those materials that are used to span large distances and hold up what we would really kind of consider immense weights. So how do we deal with that? And that's in essence when you get into these types of buildings like this one. So that's really what the goal here is. Situation is going to be real world. I mentioned this earlier, yesterday. You are a freelance drafter. You work for yourself. You went and invested $5,000 in a PC and a plotter and some software, and you're set up in your basement or an office somewhere, and you are now working for the public doing residential design. When you approach this, you're going to have a client. Your client, all of you are going to be me. Just so you know, I'm changing this course pretty substantially this year. We've had a time where we'd bring different clients in and you would have to pitch your ideas to them. And due to the extra drawing requirements that are now required, we never had the time to do. We don't have the time to do it anymore. It would take 2 to 3 weeks to design the structure, and it's only a 6-week course. And if we're just doing foundation, floors, roofs, a section, a couple elevations, yeah, we can do that in 3 weeks. We can't do shear plans We can't do stair details. We can't do all these other plans that are now required in that amount of time. So I'm not getting rid of the client deal, but we're speeding it up substantially. Okay, so you will meet with your client one-on-one and go over your plan with them. It's going to be me, and it's going to be in essence where you're going to have to pitch it. I'm not bringing anybody in from outside the class this year as clients. Okay. But keep that in mind. You should approach it like they're a client. Now, just so you know, me as your client, when you pitch it to me, I'm going to be right off the street. No construction experience, anything. I got an idea of what I want, and it's up to you to present the idea to me and get that approved, because you're not getting hired until that happens.
So we're not interviewing you to see what you want?
That's right. We're going to do that too, and we're going to go, that's in here. So we'll talk about that too. I'm just kind of getting a little ahead of myself here. So the point being, we're going to try and keep it as real world as possible, how this is going to work if you're doing it for a living. Be professional all the time. Your clients aren't. They're not in this field. It's up to you to stay professional as you move through this. By that, have itineraries. Know where you're going. Be prepared. All of those things that come in. Don't expect your client to be prepared, because they almost always aren't. They don't know how to prepare. They don't know what's going on. It's not their fault. You will need to do a lot of individual research in here. There's just too many things out there. We aren't going to cover it all. We're going to gloss over the big things. But if you want the little details, you're going to have to do your own research. I've listed some researches here. Certainly, I've lauded your textbook. I think it's a great textbook. In fact, I'll say it again. I think it's the best textbook out of all books I've ever read in the technical realm. This is the best one I've ever worked with. Really like it. I think you'll have a lot of good information in here. Okay. Keep in mind, we mentioned this one, the big red, the Architectural Bible back over there. That's there. If you wish, I think this is available over the web in digital form fairly cheaply. It's not required, but if you want it, there is a new edition that's out from the one I've got. I think it's like $50. Okay, I'm not sure. You are not required to get it. Okay, there's other ways to get all this information. But if you want it, you can get it. Reference books. I never showed you this on that. We've got 2 levels over there that are full of architectural textbooks and things. So if you're just in a solar house, I've got a book over there all on solar. Now it's a little outdated. We can get some more stuff from Eli across the hall. In fact, Eli will probably be coming in and talking to you about alternative energy when we get to passive solar and these types of things. So there's some of those. Library. Is that a 4-letter word? Library? Does anybody go to the library anymore?
No.
Me? I go once a week, probably. Cheryl, you're a library hound too. The Twin Falls Library has maybe the most extensive architectural section I've seen for a public library. It's huge. It's got tons of good material. Yes, Becca?
You're not talking about the CSI library? There's a Twin Falls library?
Twin Falls Library. The CSI Library's got a fairly good section too. It's nothing like the Twin Falls Library.
Yeah, where is it?
Google it. It'll show
Do you
you
want to
now.
work there?
Now, even if you're not a resident of
Oh,
Twin
that's
Falls, you can go into that library and you can read anything you want while you're in there. You just can't check it out. I'm not a Twin Falls City resident. I am a member of the library. It costs me $40 a year for my entire family to go use it. Again, you don't have to do that. You can go in and look and browse anything you want inside of it. Great resources right here, especially for those of us that aren't all that thrilled with the digital social media type of environment. Prints. This is maybe your best resource right here. We literally have probably 20 sets of prints in here, from old hand-drawn ones to new ones. I mean, I've got some in my folder. You're welcome to look through them. I've got some from 2000. I've got some from last year. I've got several on my computer. Maybe I'll print them off that are done last year and permitted last year. We've got Mary Wannenberg's folder. The longtime drafter, works for, I think she's got 3 contractors that she works for. She knocks out 50, 60 plans a year. Hand drafter, for the most part, is now transitioned into CAD, but she has always been a hand drafter until just the last couple of years. I'll pull them out for this class. I've got a whole roll of them back there from a guy named Lou, I can't pronounce his name. It's Llewellyn Shawn or something like that. A retired architect, did hand drafting forever, just recently stopped, but he gave me a good collection of sets that he did. And they're beautiful pieces of work. Why are they good for you? Prints. Hey, you want to know how to draw a shower? Hey, what's a shower head symbol? What's a door symbol? If you need to put a smoke detector in, how do we do that? Go look at a set of prints and say, oh yeah, okay, that's how they're doing it. It's a hexagon with SD in it. Okay? Or a carbon monoxide. That's a new requirement. How do we show these things? How do you show a toilet? Okay? How do you show a sink? Cabinets. All these different things. Great resources. Okay? See how somebody else did it. The IRC, we're going to start in, I'm going to jump into this one. I don't know that I'm going to get to it tomorrow. Probably be more Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to give you an exercise on using the International Residential Code. Codes are a good thing, especially when you are a beginning drafter. They'll spell it out. We have what we call prescriptive building methods. These are methods that have already been engineered. They've published them for general use. You stay in those guidelines and you don't have to know how a building's put together. You don't have to calculate weights. You can say single-story structure, how big's my footing got to be? Well, at a minimum, it's got to be 12 by 6. It has to be for a one-story structure. Now, if I make it out of brick, what size is it? It's all in the IRC. It will give you the minimum sizes or maximum, and it's based on safety and structure. How high does the wall need to be? They'll tell you in there. If I'm going to use a 2 by 6, how high can I put it where I don't have to get it engineered? They'll actually go 18 feet. It's all in the IRC, every bit of it. So real good choice. I'll get you started on this one. We might be into the internet a little bit today. There are some great resources here. Obviously, I mentioned this, vendors. So these are just a smattering of these. You have one other resource that I don't want you to discount. Okay? Most people in here have not done any architectural drafting at this point. Some of you have. Every single one of you has at least, how old are you, Gabe? You 18?
Yeah.
Every one of you in here has at least 18 years experience in the residential architectural field, because you've lived in one. Take a tape measure to the place you're living at. I mean, you want to know what a good closet is? You know when you use a closet if it's efficient for you or not, right? And this thing's always crowded. It sucks. Okay, go measure it and say, okay, I'm not building it this size because it doesn't work. You got a hallway in your thing. If you're a pre-1970s house, you got to turn sideways to get in. Okay, well, go measure that thing and say, okay, I'm not doing that again. Or you walk into a room and all of a sudden, like a bedroom, you say, oh, it's nice and airy, it's got room. I wish my bedroom would have been like this. What's the matter with my folks? Well, measure that bedroom and look at the layout of it. All of that stuff comes right to here. You all have that experience. Talk to your parents if they're involved. One's a cook. Okay, what's a kitchen that's a utilitarian? What's a good one? What's one where I don't really care? Because it's an expensive room. Okay, I plan on just using the microwave. Okay, be that as it may, you want to look at that stuff. And you all have that experience, don't you? All right, so don't discount that. Feel free to talk it over. So keep in mind that you will be having to do some of this stuff. Now, what are we going to do? That's on page 2, section 1.2. These are the drawings that we're going to produce. Okay, first thing that's always in a plan. Now, this is not assuming that you do the extra credit, which is listed down here. These are the minimum plan sets required by Twin Falls City. We need a site plan. Okay? So a site plan, in essence, shows property ownership and where the structures are being placed. We do have a lot that sits a little bit east of town, or west of town, excuse me, that we will go out and deal with. We're going to be a couple weeks till we can get onto the site. Okay, so we're going to have to do a little bit of Google earthing on the site until we're ready to get there. But we'll put our floor plan together first. Okay. We'll have to do the foundation plan. This one shows how you are supporting the structure on the earth. In essence, think of concrete. So we'll draw and show how big and where it all sits on how we're going to support the structure above it. After that, we're going to do floor plans. There's an S on that one. You're going to have two of them. You're going to do a two-story structure. Okay. I always do a two-story structure in here, but this year I'm going below ground. So we can mix up some different stuff. So we're going to do a basement this year. In fact, we'll do a walkout basement, and it will also have a crawl space too. You'll get more on that later today. But you're going to have two floor plans. A floor plan is a full section, a top view in full section is what it is. We need to now do a shear wall plan. We do get substantial winds, so we have now a new code that in essence really started being enforced about 3 years ago. Now it is standard. And in essence, it's how we are going to support the structure from lateral forces. So in essence, it's a structural drawing. We'll do the roof plan, just like you're in a hot air balloon looking down on the top of the thing, showing how the roof goes together. We are required to do 3 elevations. This structure is going to, now keep in mind, you're required to do 3. Some structures are going to require you to do 4 or 5 or whatever. It depends on the structure. On ours, we can get by with 3, I believe. We may end up going 4 here. That might be 4 separate drawings when we look at these. Sections. Now keep in mind, we've got other sections going on here. The foundation plan is a section. The shear wall plan is a section. The floor plans are sections. We're also going to do another full section, but this one's cut through the building this way. And this one will show our major building components and how we go together. We now, in Twin Falls, if you have any stair in there, you have to do a section of it. And we'll talk more about that when we get there. A stair section for size information is basically useless to a builder. But what it's there for is to tell them the materials you want to build the stair out of. Because there's a lot of codes that run with stairs, and you're going to see this, but we're going to take it off of a perfectly built building because that's the way we're building it in CAD. It's perfect. Well, is the floor really at the elevation we start? Is the second floor there because we've got to calculate our riser runs and all the treads? And so they have to do this on site. I do like that it's now required just for us. This is the most screwed up section of a house always. Always. Drafters screw it up. Construction people screw it up. Everybody screws it up. It's a tough little section to deal with. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. Details. These are removed sections. At a minimum on this one, I think we're going to have 7 to 8. Okay, so there will be another 7 or 8 drawings to go here. That's your base set. This is what Twin Falls City requires. Okay. And again, the website will back that up if you've looked through that. Now, down here, if you want to do some extra credit, by all means, go about doing it. Presentation cover sheet. You have multiple options here. You know how to do 2-point perspectives. You know how to use like PolySolid and create it in AutoCAD, a 3D render, where you can apply materials. You can do all of that. You could go to Revit and have it do it for you. You have a lot of different materials, but you're welcome to do a cover sheet if you wish. Now, if you don't want to do the presentation sheet, some other things that go in the front, landscape plan. Are you interested in some, what is it, botany? Want to know sprinkler systems? What kind of vegetation we're going to plant? Okay, by all means, let me know and let's put it together. We'll get you also in touch with Chance Munns, who is our horticultural instructor. He does this for a living. He actually has his own company doing this. And we'll have him critique and work with you on it. I'm not the greatest with plants, but we'll bring in experts for it. Certainly I've built a lot of sprinkler systems. I help you with all of that. So you want to do that, you can. Table of contents, move that one up here. Table of contents is going to be required. Okay, instead of being extra credit, it's now required. I forgot to move it. Some other plans if you wish to take them on. Electrical, plumbing, or HVAC. They're not required. The reason is generally when you're in residential construction, the vendor does their own plans. Okay, so if you hire an electrician to come in and wire a house, they'll take the floor plan and they'll sketch all their stuff on it that they're doing. And they'll just build their own plan as they go. Lighting plans, switching plans, power plans, all of these. If you want to do them, please, by all means, let's do it as an extra credit. Plumbing plans, do we want to do those? Okay. Isometrics, do we want to show the plumbing setup of the house? Okay. How do we want to do it? You're welcome to do this. The HVAC one, okay, again, here's our ductwork, our registers, our, what are the ones that suck them back in, our return air, okay, as well as the registers, and calculating volume of air and how much we have to move, and sizing the equipment that we will use on it. By all means, if you want to do any of those, we can jump into them. Okay. They're all extra credit. Also, interior elevations, these aren't generally required, but they are very handy. And they will be extra credit. So if you got a real trim fireplace and you want to do a mantle of it, are you just going to leave it up to somebody to build it and not know what it looks like? Well, no, we're probably going to draw it and show the element for our person we're hiring to do that. Kitchens, bathrooms are real common things for elevations inside. By an elevation, in essence, you're at a view where you're looking at it this way. Okay, and I wouldn't call it a left, right, front, although those are all elevation views that show height. But we can do any and all of those. Those are all going to be extra credit because they're not required by the Twin Falls City. Okay. So those are your drawings. So in essence, in the next 5.5 weeks, we've got a lot of drawings to do there. And we're going to have a couple interruptions in there also. It's really going to be 6.5. We do have spring break that falls in here. And we also have our Boise trip, which is going to take 3 days for some of us. Yeah.
Okay, so you said extra credit is not required by the city, so you can get a house plan approved with no electrical, no plumbing, no mechanical. You just build a stick and put whatever you want in it? I mean,
No, you can't put whatever you want in it.
why isn't that required to go with a house?
Because the state inspects all those, not the cities. It's a state requirement. And that's throughout the state of Idaho. In essence, a vendor will come in, they'll wire it, but there's an electrical inspector that will come in and check it. And make sure that you've got the right type of switches here, you got GFIs where they're needed, how many outlets do you got on one run.
But if you're doing a house plans for somebody that, like you said, doesn't know anything about construction, they're gonna need that. So you're just gonna send them off to somebody?
Yep, they'll go over to Get Some Electric or somebody, and they'll take the plans with them and they'll sit down with them and do them on their own. Certainly, I think it's like the electrical, in my mind, is probably for the function of the building. And remember, architecture is designing it to work with people. Well, can people really survive without electricity?
No.
Can you cook without it?
Yeah. Gas?
Oh, you could, but
You can't run a gas stove without
That's right, you just plug
electricity.
it in, yeah.
Not unless you go wood. You can buy an old wood stove, then you can do it. You gotta have outlets. You gotta have lighting. Lighting's a huge thing on the comfort of a house. How many people get headaches from lights like these? They're LEDs. These are a little better than the old fluorescent. LEDs have kind of transformed how we're doing things. But yeah, the electrical, I think, is a huge plan. I've done them for people. I offer it to everybody I work for. Say, do you want me to do this? And it's going to cost you this much, though. And most of them say, oh, we'll just let the vendor do it. But maybe they don't get the 3-way switch, they don't get the 4-way switch, things that make things nice. When you walk into a room from, like here, we walk in from 2 points. So we only need a 3-way switch. But if you had another entrance on here, now we need a 4-way switch. And there's a lot of things to think about with this stuff. land and plan it correctly. Certainly, can the electricians do that? Yeah, they can. They make a living off of this. They're very qualified people. So did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not required, no. Now, on the commercial end, it is. It will be.
But can I ask one more quick question?
Sure, you can ask me
So
if you
when
want.
you're in an architectural firm, if you have a basic drafter, are you usually doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, it will be one of your standard drawings. If you want, again, that big set I got in the back, it's a great one to look through. There's the E section in there. Look through it. It'll show your power, your switching, your lighting. All right, let's just go down through some of these bullets down here. So you need to create a template to start with. We're going to do this as a class tomorrow, so you can wait on this. Again, I'm kind of planning for